Welcome back to Marvelous Videos. I'm Rylan. The 80s was a decade that saw a surge in female representation in movies, particularly in the action-adventure genre, because of the success of films like Conan the Barbarian and Mad Max. Female barbarians in particular have become a popular archetype, depicting strong, independent, and fierce women who were unapologetic about their physical prowess and abilities. However, most of these films were exploitation films that depicted women warriors in scanty clothing and swords in their hands. But having said that, these characters broke away from the traditional roles that women were often relegated to in the movies. So, in this video, we will be exploring 14 of these female barbarian movies from the 80s, taking a closer look at their impact on the genre and their enduring legacy. But before we get into our explanation, we do have one very small request. If you like our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is just one small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thanks! Now, let's begin. Number 1. Red Sonia, 1985. Sonia, a fiery red-headed warrior, sought revenge against the evil Queen Gedren, who murdered her family and left her for dead. With the help of a mystic spirit, Sonia gains incredible sword-fighting skills and sets out on a quest to stop Gedren from using a powerful relic called the Talisman to destroy the world. Along the way, Sonia meets Prince Tarn and his loyal bodyguard Falcon, who join her on her quest to Bercubane, the land of perpetual night, where Gedren has made her stronghold. Together, they face countless obstacles, including battles with Gedren's armies, a dragon-like killing machine, and Lord Brightag, who demands a tribute before allowing them passage. As Sonia and her companions near Bercubane, they are confronted by Gedren's wizard, who conjures a storm to force them into a watery cavern, where the killing machine is unleashed. But with the help of Calidor, a skilled swordsman descended from the lords who entrusted the talisman to the temple, they manage to bind the creature and escape. Sonia and Calidor begin to develop a romantic interest in each other, and, well, that was that. Finally, Sonia and her team arrive at the castle Bercubane, where they confront Gurdon and her army. Directed by Richard Fleischer, the film features a strong and independent female protagonist, played by Bridget Nielsen, who is seeking revenge against a tyrannical queen who had done her wrong. The movie is action-packed, with numerous sword fights and battles against monsters and warriors alike. It also has elements of sorcery and mysticism, with the mystical talisman playing a key role in the story. Additionally, the movie has a cast of colorful characters, including the cocky and comical Prince Tarn, the loyal servant Falcon, and the skilled warrior Calidor, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, who provides a romantic interest for Sonia.
Bring your bows!
Number 2. Sheena, 1984. A young girl named Janet becomes an orphan after her geologist parents die in a cave-in. She is adopted by a tribe of native Zambuli and is renamed Sheena, the Queen of the Jungle. Growing up under the tutelage of a shaman, Sheena learns the secrets of the jungle and the ways of its creatures, including telepathic communication with animals. But trouble brews when the corrupt Prince Otwani conspires with his brother's fiancée to assassinate the king of Tigora so they can exploit the land's rich titanium deposits. Sheena, with the help of her animal friends and a reporter named Vic Casey, sets out to stop the prince and his army of mercenaries. Directed by John Guillermin and starring Tanya Roberts as Sheena, the film boasts some impressive action sequences, particularly the climax on the African Serengeti, where Sheena and her tribe battle Otwani's army. Tanya Roberts shines as the titular character, displaying a strong physical presence and a convincing portrayal of a woman in tune with her natural world. Sheena is definitely a fun and entertaining sword and sorcery adventure that blends action, romance, and a touch of mystical fantasy. Interestingly, the filmmakers used a combination of real animals and animatronics to bring the characters of the jungle to life, and the results are quite impressive. While the plot may be somewhat predictable and the characters occasionally one-dimensional, the film's fast-paced action and gorgeous African scenery make for an enjoyable viewing experience. Number 3. She, 1984. She is set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, 23 years after a gnarly nuclear war called the Cancellation. It's a world of warring tribes, and two of the protagonists, Tom and Dick, are on a mission to save Dick's sister, Harry, from the clutches of the powerful Norks. But things get wild when they cross paths with a badass matriarchal clan, the Urex, led by a fierce woman named She. After a rocky start, she and her lieutenant Chandra end up joining forces with Tom and Dick, and they set off on a journey through a world full of crazed tribes, led by their own post-apocalyptic gods. These gods have armies of mutants with special abilities bestowed by the radioactive fallout. The gang faces all sorts of crazy adventures along the way, like a psychic communist who can levitate his enemies, werewolves in togas, vampires in high society, and mutants wrapped up like Egyptian mummies. It is one wild ride, and the group eventually becomes separated as they make their way towards the Nork fortress. But they eventually reunite, and it's time for a showdown. The Norks force them into gladiator combat melee, but the trio recognizes each other under the masks and puts an end to the fight. The Norks plan to attack and enslave the Urex the next day, but our valiant She ain't having any of it, and she rallies the troops for an ambush. This movie has got everything a fan of the genre could want, from post-apocalyptic wastelands to warring tribes of mutant armies and plenty of magic. It packs everything. The film takes you on a wild ride through a wicked world, introducing you to all sorts of bizarre and fantastical creatures along the way. Plus, with a cast that includes Shandal Bergman as the fierce and charismatic She, the movie has no shortage of badass characters to root for. And let's not forget about the thrilling gladiator combat scenes and epic battles that keep you on the edge of your seat. Number 4. Hundra, 1983. Hundra is a badass Amazon who's never been with a man, and she's determined to keep it that way. But when the tribe is massacred by barbarians, she's the sole survivor and seeks guidance from a wise woman. The wise woman drops a bombshell on her, saying she needs to have a child to prevent her from dying out. Yeah, big surprise there. So, Hundra goes on a mission to find a suitable father for her child. She encounters some real losers along the way, like a sadistic psycho and an effeminate pimp, but she finally meets a gentleman who works as a healer, and she asks him to father her child. Unfortunately, he's not too keen on the idea, so Hundra enlists the help of other women to seduce him. It works, and she gets pregnant and gives birth to a child. Interesting sequence of affairs there, but the drama is far from over. An evil pagan priest then kidnaps Hundra's daughter and forces her to take part in a humiliating ritual. But Hundra is not one to back down from a fight. Hundra is a true warrior queen who embodies the spirit of the sword and sorcery genre. Her fierce determination to protect her tribe and prevent their extinction is awe-inspiring, and her unwavering commitment to her own values and beliefs is nothing short of admirable. What sets Hundra apart from other female heroines is her refusal to conform to societal expectations. Furthermore, it is her strength and bravery that truly make her a standout character. Throughout the film, Hundra proves that she is not just a powerful warrior, but also a symbol of hope and empowerment for women everywhere. Or maybe not so much. Number 5. Amazons, 1986. In this film, we follow the fierce Amazon warrior Queen Diala on a dangerous mission to recover the fabled sword of Azundati. The magical blade possesses unrivaled powers and is the only weapon that can defeat the evil necromancer Kalungo and his demonic army. With the help of her fellow warriors, Tashi and Tajinji, Diala sets on a perilous journey fraught with treachery and sorcery to retrieve the artifact and save the land from destruction. From the start, the stakes are high as the Emerald City of Imbisi falls to a devastating attack by Kalungo's minions. Diala must draw on her strength, skill, and determination to face the dangers that await her on this quest. Along the way, she will face treacherous foes and betrayals, but her unwavering courage and loyalty to her people will see her through. As the adventure unfolds, we witness the epic and magical battles that define the sword and sorcery genre. Will Diala and her sisters-in-arms overcome the obstacles and retrieve the sword of Azudati before it's too late? This movie is based on Charles R. Saunders' short story titled Agbiwe's Sword, which is a part of his dossier series about the legendary female warriors of the Kingdom of Dahomey. Interestingly, the 2022 movie Woman King is also based on the same subject. Queen Diala, who's played by the fierce Ty Randolph, proves that women can kick just as much butt as their male counterparts in the genre. Number 6. Barbarian Queen, 1985. The film revolves around Amathea, who is about to marry a prince named Argan in a peaceful village. But then, all hell breaks loose when Lord Arakar's forces come in and start wreaking havoc everywhere. They kill most of the villagers and take Argan along with Amathea's little sister Taramis as prisoners. The queen, her handmaiden, and a warrior chick survive and set out on a mission to save their people. They come across a group of Arakar's men and take them out, finding Taramis in the process. She is totally traumatized after being raped by the attackers, which is flat out awful. When they get to Arakar's city, they meet a group of rebels who agree to help them sneak in, but these rebels won't participate in the battle. In the city, Amathea finds out that Argan and the other dudes from her village are being forced into gladiatorial duels. Meanwhile, the queen's handmaiden gets sexually assaulted by some of her guards. It's quite messed up to say the least. Amathea and the warrior chick try to save her friend, but the latter dies in the process, and Amathea gets tortured. But then, things start looking up when the gladiators, including Argan and Estrild, plan a revolt. Amathea escapes and joins forces with the rebels to take down Arakar's forces. The Barbarian Queen isn't half bad, This movie's got full of hallmarks in the genre, like epic battles, scantily clad guys and girls, and of course, plenty of gratuitous violence and nudity. But what truly sets this movie apart is the titular hero, Amathea. Lana Clarkson does a great job of portraying this tough-as-nails queen who isn't afraid to take on anybody who threatens her people or her family. And let me tell you this, there are plenty of threats to go around in this movie. The action is non-stop, and the fight choreography is acceptable, especially the gladiatorial game sequence. And the final showdown between Amathea and Lord Araker is intense, with some truly brutal moments. But do be warned, this movie is not for the faint of heart. There is some pretty graphic violence and sexual assault scenes, which may be too much for some viewers. And we're gonna say it, the dialogue can be a bit cheesy at times, but hey, that's par for the course in these types of movies. Number 7. Sorceress, 1982. An evil wizard, Trigon, is hell-bent on sacrificing his own children to a god for power. But when his wife gives birth to twin daughters, named Mira and Mara, she refuses to tell him which one was born first, setting off a chain of events that ultimately led to her death and Trigon's banishment. Fast forward 20 years, and Trigon is back and on the hunt for his now adult daughters, who have been raised as warriors and are now known as the 80's sisters. But the twins aren't going down without a fight, enlisting the help of a satyr, a barbarian, and a Viking to take down their own father and his dark magic. The 80's sisters are impressive as the tough and determined twins, while the supporting cast adds depth and humor to the story. Additionally, the feats that the warrior twins achieve are only elevated by Trigon, who is quite formidable as a villain, and the final showdown between him and the twins is a satisfying conclusion to the story. The film's strengths lie in the use of classic sword and sorcery tropes and themes, such as magic, mystical creatures, and ancient prophecies, which are woven into a compelling story. However, Sorceress is not without its flaws. The special effects and production design are noticeably dated, which can be a turnoff for some viewers. The dialogue and acting can also be a little wooden and even cheesy at times, detracting from the overall experience. Furthermore, while the film's plot is quite engaging, it also relies heavily on cliches and, well, predictable plot twists, which can make it feel a little formulaic.
You are such a darling. La 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 la.
Number 8. Golden Temple Amazons, 1986. Golden Temple Amazons is a jungle adventure flick that starts off with a bizarre scene. We see a bunch of horse-riding women who are rocking nothing but their bare chests, attacking a shallot in the middle of the jungle. They waste no time in taking out a man and a woman with their arrows, leaving a little girl to witness the horror. Fast forward a few years, and we meet Liana, played by Analia Ivars, who's now all grown up and living in the jungle with her animal pals. But things take a turn when a stranger enters the picture, and Liana discovers that she can't read. The dude decides to fill her in on her past by reading entries from her father's diary, and Liana decides to get her revenge on the Amazonian tribe who killed her parents. Things get even weirder when we're introduced to Rena, who leads a cult that has some serious fetish vibes going on. Rena and her partner Urek, played by William Berger, take Liana and some of her pals prisoner, but that is when the action really kicks in. There's also a shaman named Cuckoo, who's there to provide some questionable comic relief. This is one of those films that you're either gonna love it as much as a dog loves a bone, or you're gonna get bored to death. I guess it's clear by now that none of these movies on this list were made with the intention of winning an Oscar, and Golden Temple Amazons follow suit. Having said that, this film by Alan Piet and Jesus Franco will leave your eyes glued to the screen, especially if you're a man. The action sequences are, different. The acting is as debatable as the characters, but it's one of those nice films that you can watch with your friends and a few chilled ones. Number 9. The Sisterhood, 1988. This story revolves around a group of women who are fighting tooth and nail to survive in the new harsh world, which used to be America. Unfortunately, they get captured by a gang of brutish men who are veterans of the Western War that went down before 2021. These men are led by Michael, played by Chuck Wagner, who's seen too much violence and just wants it all to end. With no way to escape, the women are doomed to a life of servitude and misery until a nomadic band of warrior women known as the Sisterhood shows up to save the day. Each member of the badass crew has a unique paranormal power that they use to kick some serious butt with. They'd had their fair share of battles with the men in the past, but they're not afraid to go head-to-head with them once again. Led by the fierce Allie, played by Rebecca Holden, the Sisterhood doesn't need fancy weapons or machinery to take down their enemies. They rely solely on their supernatural abilities to take down the men and free the captives. In the end, they vow to heal the land with their powers, rather than relying on technology. This 1988 flick owes a huge debt to the Mad Max films, But let's be real here for a moment. It is blatant to the point of being a little embarrassing. There's plenty of fast driving and exploding fireballs, but the heroines' aim with their tank guns is so bad that it's almost comical. Plus, the fact that it's set in the oh-so-distant future of 2021 is a little ridiculous because the film didn't know the first thing about a futuristic film. And even with all of that, the cast also plays it straight, and somehow that seriousness ends up being infectious. Director Santiago, who previously worked on films like Angel Mist and The Mothers, is just as exploitive. But the female characters manage to be both strong and dignified, even when they are chained up or topless, which happens a lot in this film. All in all, this is a solid entry into the post-apocalyptic genre if you happen to leave your brain somewhere else. Number 10. The Lost Empire, 1984. In The Lost Empire, tough cop Angel Wolf is thrown into action when her brother is killed during a heist. She discovered that the crooks were hired by the evil Dr. Sin Do to retrieve one half of the powerful eyes of Avatar, which Angel unknowingly possesses. Sindo's plan involves recruiting women for a terrorist army and holding a martial arts competition on Golgotha Island. Angel assembles a team of badass women, including American Indian warrior White Star and rough criminal Heather McClure, promising her a pardon in exchange for her help. Together, they journey to the island and must fight in the competition to get close enough to take down Sindo to stop his diabolical plan. It's a wild ride of action and adventure with a strong female cast. Written, directed, and produced by Jim Wynorski, he burst onto the scene with his debut film, The Lost Empire, which set the stage for his character as an exploitation film director. His trademark tongue-in-cheek approach is evident from the very first shot, which features an eye-popping, iris-out shot of a woman's ample cleavage. This film takes place in a world of absurd improbability, where even police detective Melanie Vins wears a slinky silver bodysuit to work that reveals her naturally ample cleavage. The film is reminiscent of Charlie's Angels, but with a twist. Wynorski contorts the setup to include not one, but three kick-ass girls, who he doesn't hesitate to get unclothed at various points. The three heroines lack acting talent, but make up for it with their bra sizes and enthusiasm. They are joined by 1970 exploitation actress Angelique Petitjean, who engages in a catfight that turns into a mud wrestling match, leaving a bystander rendered topless. Despite its flaws, The Lost Empire is a preposterously entertaining ride, fueled by the sheer joy and fun of the cast and crew. Oh yeah, and there's a bit of sorcery of course, but that's that. Number 11. She-Wolves of the Wasteland, aka Phoenix the Warrior, 1988. This movie is set in a world turned to waste by bacterial wars that left only a few women alive. Furthermore, women cannot give birth to male children. Amidst these conditions, we meet Phoenix, the badass sand trapper armed with a sword and a gun. Along the way, she bumps into Keela, a woman being chased by a group of baddies led by Cobalt, Reverend Mother's right-hand woman. Reverend Mother is the ruler of the Wasteland and has anyone who crossed her killed. She's been using her dark powers to breed a new race of women, but things get complicated when Keela, who has never seen a man, gets impregnated with a male child and escapes from the breeding facility. Phoenix takes Keela under her wing and helps her give birth to a son, Skylar. For the next 5 years, everything seems to be going fine until Cobalt and her crew came after them in their dune buggies and go-karts. Phoenix tries to protect them, but she gets captured and forced to fight in gladiatorial fights. Phoenix ends up fighting scantily clad women, including one with pasties covering her nipples. Yeesh. Full disclosure, She-Wolves of the Wasteland is like a low-budget Road Warrior ripoff, with an all-female cast. The film's production design is quite laughable, with sets made out of nothing but plastic drop cloths, but this also ends up adding to the film's charm. The budget was so low that they couldn't even afford real cars, so they went with dingoes, dune buggies, and go-karts instead. The costumes are ridiculous to say the least, with all the women wearing S&M gear and dingy workout clothes for maximum sexiness. While it's not the best post-apocalyptic action movie out there, She-Wolves of the Wasteland is certainly worth a watch if you're looking for an all-female version of Road Warrior. The movie has more scenes of Amazonian women driving around in the desert in dune buggies than any other movie that we can think of, and compared to the bleak and depressing Children of Men, this film is a hell of a lot more fun. But be prepared for things to get a little weird once the mutants in bathrobes show up. Yeah, you heard us right. Number 12. Warrior Queen, 1987. Warrior Queen starts off with a caravan of royalty cruising through a field. Suddenly, they get ambushed by some nasty bandits who start taking out the guards left and right. Just when it looks like it's all over, in steps the royal ambassador Bernice, played by the legendary Sybil Danning, wielding a sword like a boss and taking out the bad guys like it's nobody's business. Okay, fine, maybe her sword skills are a bit questionable, but you gotta love the effort. Meanwhile, in the city, some fresh slaves have just arrived. and the townspeople are less than thrilled. Now, things start to get interesting when the gladiator hero Marcus shows up in town. To really spice things up, the royal caravan also arrives in town, and they're greeted by Claudius Flaccus, the ruler of Pompeii. He's throwing a huge party in their honor, and it's pretty wild. Meanwhile, at the brothel, owned by Victo, the one-eyed entrepreneur, everybody's getting it on. Victo brings out his prized new slave, Vespa, and introduces her to Chloe, the senior slave. Vespa is almost assaulted by the evil gladiator Goliath, but Bernice and Marcus come to her rescue twice. Marcus and Vespa have a romantic encounter in the woods, but Vespa is attacked once again by Goliath, and Bernice saves her once more. In the end, Mount Vesuvius saves us all from this film and its obnoxious plot. Warrior Queen may appear to be another cliched female Conan knockoff at first glance, but it's actually a lot more in common with a low-budget classic called Caligula. The director's background in the adult film industry is evident in the film's emphasis on orgies over fight scenes, and even the simplest scenes have quite a sleazy feel to them. While those scenes do drag on for too long and lack quality, they make up for it in quantity, with plenty of skin thrown throughout the film. Sybil Danning, despite looking great in her skimpy costumes, seems unenthusiastic and barely speaks. On the other hand, it's a delight to watch Donald Pleasance chew the scenery in his role. Whenever the film slows down, his frantic pigeon-catching scene in a toga serves as a bizarre but entertaining distraction. Overall, Warrior Queen is pure cheese fun. While it may not be everybody's cup of tea, it's definitely worth a watch for those in need of mindless entertainment. Number 13. War Goddess, 1973. War Goddess revolves around the Amazons and their new queen, Antiope, who is a real man-hater, and she's not afraid to let everyone know it. She's all about getting the tribe back to their roots and imposing some strict rules, including only allowing sexual relations with men once a year for reproductive purposes. Unfortunately for Antiope, not everyone is on board with her ideas. The Amazons are gearing up for their annual mating ceremony with some Greek soldiers led by King Theseus of Athens. He ends up impregnating her in the process, and to Antiope's surprise, she quite enjoys her first time with a man, and when Theseus tries to change her man-hating ways, she remains firm in her resolve. However, Antiope secretly worries that she's developing feelings for him, and orders the Amazons to head back home early. The king inadvertently leads the tribe into a Scythian ambush, causing them to retaliate by pillaging the villages of the attackers. However, when the queen gives birth to a male child, she believes he is left out to die, as male children are not wanted by the tribe. Seeking revenge, the queen arranges another meeting with the Greeks to mate again, and kill them for their perceived role in the ambush. She is once again overcome with lust and slips away with the king, who revealed that he had rescued their son. This leads to a battle between the Amazons and the Greeks, as the queen tries to protect her child and her tribe from harm, but things have just barely started to go south. This 1973 film, directed by Terrence Young, is a spectacle to behold, but maybe for the wrong reasons. From the very first scene, it is clear that this film is a product of its time. The costumes, sets, and special effects all have that distinctive 70s flavor, which may not be everybody's cup of tea. The battle scenes are decently choreographed, with a wide variety of weapons and tactics on display. Furthermore, the use of practical effects, such as the real fire and explosions, adds a tangible sense of danger to the proceedings. In conclusion, while War Goddess may not be a masterpiece by any respect, it is still an entertaining and visually striking adventure where women conveniently apply sacred body oil before getting into a nude brawl. You may not believe it if we told you, but Terrence Young is the same guy who directed Bond movies like Dr. No and From Russia with Love. Number 14. The Arena, 1974. In the dusty Roman town of Brundisium, a group of enslaved women are sold to the sadistic Timarchus, the mastermind behind the brutal Colosseum games. When a violent altercation erupts amongst the captives, Timarchus sees the opportunity to stage a new spectacle, forcing the women to battle each other to the death. But amidst the carnage, two fierce warriors, Mamawi and Boudicca, recognize that their only hope for survival is to band together and fight as one. As they face off against a ruthless array of opponents, they must not only use their skills to overcome impossible odds, but also to navigate the treacherous politics of their male-dominated society. Despite the barbarism of their circumstances, Mamawi and Boudicca's unbreakable bond and unyielding determination make for a gripping tale of sisterhood and defiance in the face of insurmountable obstacles. Okay, so the movie was also called Naked Warriors. That should give you an idea of what to expect here. Having said that though, this is one of the better films to have made our list. I mean, at one point, Martin Scorsese was even in talks to direct it. I can't help but wonder what that film would have looked like. Forget it. it. Nevertheless, while the arena may be lowbrow in terms of its content, it boasts some notable technical achievements. The two lead actresses, Margaret Markov and Pam Grier, gave committed performances, infusing their characters with a sense of agency and defiance. Having said that though, Arena is all about women and duels, and some may say that it's any man's wet dream. And well folks, that concludes our list today. We hope you enjoyed this wild ride through a world of female barbarian movies from the 1980s. So, if you're looking for some serious girl power and epic battles, we encourage you to check out some of the movies on our list, and trust us when we say, you won't be disappointed. If you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to leave us a like, and subscribe to never miss out on any of our videos. Until next time, I'm Rylan. Have a good one, and be safe.